First, I'm going to cut Jeff off there and call this meeting to order at 6:30. Can we get a roll call, please?
Hanauer, Friedman, Locke, Smith.
Here.
Vanish Theranot.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Furtado. Greer. Lockshin.
Here. We have quorum. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting? We have Vanish Thernot and Smith seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, an approval of the minutes from the October 8th, 2024 meeting. Can I get a motion? Vanish Thernot again. Smith again. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It looks like we have no one here for public participation, but just in case, if there's any public who would like to address the Facilities Committee. Moving on. Do we have any board communications for this evening? Nothing. All right. Moving on to new business. Before I move on, I will say we have a couple of envelopes circling the room. One is the closed session minutes that will be up for review at the end of this meeting. If we do review them, we'll need to go into a closed session. So just take a look and see if there's anything in there that you feel is necessary to do that for, and we'll get that passed around the room. So then, moving on to new business. Update on ITB 2022-008 County Plaza Renovation Project. We have David from Bailey Edward Design and some parking deck photos in our packets.
Yes, so do you want to discuss the parking deck first? Dana?
Yeah, just give us an overview on what's going on with that. Dana, is that going to be one you cover?
So we met with Jake Wolf, the structural engineer, today on site to look over some of the damaged planks of the parking deck. After review with him, we may need to, after further investigation, once all of the drain bodies get opened up, we'll move forward with the count. But after the meeting with him today, we may need to, or we will need to replace one full plank that has had the lower strands of the plank rotted out, which makes that area unsafe. And will need to be replaced similar to in the parking renovation phase of the project.
Add to that a little bit. So just a reminder, excuse me, Western Waterproofing is doing this work. They did the they did the waterproofing earlier this calendar year of the deck. And we discovered that we needed to get into those drain bodies. The drains were put in originally when the building was built back in 79, 80, and they were not really meant to be in an outside environment, nor were they strong enough or made to take a load of a vehicle and a tire rolling over them. So they've caused problems over the years. We were having lots of water accumulate in a number of the drains, so we decided to put our best foot forward. Let's get in and replace those. As Western started last Monday, tearing into those 32 drain bodies, they've opened up about 20 of them. Most of them are in, the concrete and the strands are in great shape in the majority of them. We think 2 may need some additional work. The one that David just discussed, the strand is totally gone. What is a strand? It's twisted metal wire, basically, that when these precast panels are built, it's tensioned, and they're built in and around the concrete. The concrete is more or less buried them, but they give the panels a rigid structure and more strength so that they can hold a weight when they're being supported on the edges. Without the strands, you question, obviously, what kind of weight can you have? So our structural engineer has basically said, at least the one that we looked at today and possibly one other, we'll have to take about a 20-inch section, which is the hole that they're taking or cutting into the panel right now to replace those drains is a 20 by 20 hole. So we'll take 20 inches, the length of that particular panel, cut it out entirely. We'll put back new steel to support it, a little bit different than the steel strand, but we'll put back in steel to support it, and then re-pour the concrete, support it from underneath, pour half, get it done, and then pour the upper half once the drain body's put back in. So they're pricing that out as here hopefully later in the week. Our structural engineer is drawing it up for them. They'll deliver it to Rowan Russo. Rowan Russo will pass it off then to GHR and Bailey Edwards, as well as give it to Western Waterproofing. So they may choose to use Western really doesn't pour larger pours like this, so we'll probably end up using a local union contractor for concrete. We use Deuce early on in the project, so we'll probably go back to them or another one here locally when just depending upon price. So that's kind of where it is. Every other drain all looks good. The new drains look incredible. They're larger, they're more durable. They're going to take a load. Where these other drains, they're really a basement drain or a mechanical room drain on an inside environment. They just never should have been put in an outside structure. So anyway.
So when you say plank and you say panel, is that the same thing? Is that like this, what looks like the board of the,
Yes.
Okay.
So
where I can see the obvious leaking and structural issues on the pictures here in the
Yeah.
packet. Those are on page,
So the drain
right after
body
the,
that at the
minutes,
bottom
sorry.
of the panel that you can see in the picture, it was in your packet. Yeah, they'll come in, tear that out 20 inches wide, the length, and they'll come in and, basically put up plywood underneath side, put in the steel where they want it, tie it into the adjacent structure, and then they'll pour the concrete.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on this update? I'm assuming if we're getting a estimate soon that will be on the full board probably for an update,
Yes, ma'am.
since we won't meet again until January. Yeah. Okay. Then moving on, we have discussion and approval of change orders for ITB 2022 County Plaza renovation project. The change orders were the ones, handed out at the meeting here. The top on mine is,
Yep, that's it.
we've got change orders,
70,
sorry. You said 70 and 71, okay. If you want to give us a brief overview of those.
I'll
Okay.
take it.
Thank you.
So change order 70. The sheriff came to us a month ago or so and wanted to add additional, he wanted cameras both in the lower level, placed in the lower level for their material that they are storing for cases, upcoming cases, as well as their armory and some of the other sensitive items that they have in storage on the lower level. And they also wanted cameras placed in their floor, up on the fourth floor. So that's a total of 13 cameras. The cameras themselves are about $2,000, but then you have to have wiring fiber cable basically from each of the cameras, then back to IT's area. So it mounts up pretty quick. It's $43,366. He was, he really feels that this is necessary. I will say that when we originally talked, when we're doing the programming for the building, he thought he would just bring over what he had, and I don't think they thought much about what they had at the time and how it would fit into this building and our security camera system, and now understands it really needed to include that originally. So I do think it's necessary, particularly in the evidence storage and the armories areas, and just for safety up on the fourth floor. Any questions about change order 70?
Mike?
I got one, Dana.
Yes, sir.
It talked about the date will remain unchanged and it's gonna remain June 14th, 2024. Should that be 2025? It's
The
on,
substantial
change or-
completion date
It's on
on
change
the-
order 70, Dana.
Okay.
Just under the contract time will be unchanged by 0 days. The new date, substantial completion, June 4th. I was just questioning the date.
Well, if this change order goes through and is approved, both at here and the county board, Born Russo will, upon delivery of a signed contract, will immediately order the cameras. And once those arrive and come in, then their electrician, which is Davis Electric, will do the installation. And then we'll have our Synergy is the security folks. They will do the final connections to make everything work for the cameras and into a system. So they'll be in as quickly as they can. Remember, we can't get into the building until 2 elevators are completed, both the elevator at the north, which will happen later this month, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then unfortunately, the second one's probably looking a little bit further, so.
But that's,
Understood.
yeah,
Understood, but we're not gonna meet June 14th. That was last summer.
Yeah.
so what should the date
Should
be
it-
there is
should
what
the
we're,
date be?
If I can add, that date refers to the substantial completion of the project. So that it would mean that the substantial completion of the project took place on June 14th of 2024.
got
It's
it,
not,
thank you.
not related to that,
Okay.
the completion of that change order.
Any other questions? Stephanie?
I don't know if this is the right time, but since it's just not on the agenda, have we just given up on MBE, WBE? Like, it's not on the agenda, we didn't get it last time. Like,
I think it's because we haven't had anybody who was able to actually speak to it, attending the meetings.
I mean, we could still have the numbers. I don't understand.
We have asked that they come back and make one final presentation. So that'll be with the new committee in January.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to monitor. I mean, the idea behind it is that there's consequences, and I haven't seen numbers in months. So I'm going to say this. This is not the only PLA we're going to do. We're doing them from now on, and it's not going to be like this. I'm like, if I come to a meeting again and there's not numbers, like, this just can't be. It's not okay. And it's not what we agreed to. And I don't have words for how frustrated I am with it. And just not okay. And it hasn't been for months.
But I don't think we would have been getting them from Bailey Edward, though, but for the other projects.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
well, No, Connie, I mean, yeah, I don't know, I don't know where to say it, because
Yeah.
it's literally not on the agenda. Yeah, I, yeah, it's great that we'll get updates in January when the projects are done, but I would have liked updates in November and October and September, and, you know, like, just, yep, like, I worked really hard to get those goals in, and I expected them to be monitored. I feel like I made it real clear. I switched from a committee I really liked to come onto this committee to do it. Yeah, I mean, going forward, projects are gonna have like more consequences. Like, just full stop. We won't be letting $30,000 contracts anymore without a PLA that doesn't have these goals. They're gonna include veteran goals. I'm gonna get numbers every month in this committee. This, like, I don't know how to make it clear.
Okay, noted, thank you. So can I get a motion, oh, we still need to discuss 71, don't we? Okay,
71 is part of the AV work for the boardroom and Putnam Room. That was not on the original ask. I want to say that was about 10 change orders ago. It was about 143,000. This is basically a change order to add 3 flat screens into the mix over there that basically do the same thing that these flat screens do. It's part of the presentation, so as the board meetings are televised, you can, put up the video feed, whatever information's on the computer. This is through IT, what they worked out with Thompson Electric. So basically, Thompson Electric is going to be contracted with Born Russo to purchase and install this system. The initial change order was to be paid for by ARPA funds, which the board had already approved. This is a $10,000 addition to that, but it needs its own change order.
any questions on this one? Can we get a motion to approve? Sorry, I forgot the number again. ITB 2022-008, County Plaza Renovation Project, change orders 70 and 71. Moved by Smith, second by Jeff. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We got you up here next too for the update on ITB 2023-005, County Plaza Elevator Renovation Project. Dana, are you going to cover on that one? Or?
Add, David, on?
I just have a few general notes that you may build upon, but Otis has been on site. They have not gotten their additional crew that they were hoping throughout the month of October. They're still hoping to get another crew on site, but nothing has been set in stone for when that may be. I'll let you take it from here, Dana.
Okay. Sorry, Otis has been working for about 11 weeks now, approximately 10 weeks. The elevator does work. This is on the north side. We had an inspector in 3 weeks ago to take a look at it. So it's a pre-inspection, if you will, to make sure that Otis is following all the protocols and everything's in place. It was noted, I think we had 3 or 4 small items to fix by Otis prior to the final inspection. Right now, basically, they're working on the interior of the car, the doors, and the exterior equipment, buttons, basically, call lights and so forth. That elevator is slated to be done at the end of the month, around Thanksgiving, before they move on to the first public car, which will be at the south end of the building. They have promised that they'll have a second crew here in December. Keep saying it'll be here at the 1st, but their delay is that, or at least what they tell us, is that they've got a lead worker who has been, he's in the reserves, and he's been overseas for a year, and they keep delaying his return to work and back to the States. So we have continued to ask and harass them about finding a second crew and not worrying about this person. So they claim they're doing that. We'll have a second crew here, so they'll be able to start 2 public elevators in the month of December. It still takes approximately 14 weeks. So you're looking at the end of the first week or into the second week in March to be able to move in. So any questions?
No questions on those? All right. Thank you. I guess now, well, I think that's it for Bailey Order. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Well, I guess we don't have,
That's me.
Chris, you going to cover the update on ITB 2022-009 satellite jail consolidation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Similar to County Plaza, Bennett Administrative Center, both of these buildings have been basically delivered, so we're down to just a few people. As we look at the County Plaza and what's been going on there, we saw a lot of information early on, referring back to you, Stephanie, about the information that you wanted and requested. They were delivering that. Their work crew is basically down to nil. It's the same people who have been there or the same subs that are working there, and it's very few. In fact, right now, it's only Western and it's Otis at the building. So similarly at Satellite Jail, the project is virtually done. We still have work. In fact, CPOD has been moved into. DPOD has a few more things to tidy up before we move people in. JP Her and their subs are inside the old building, working on the change orders that we put forth not too long ago for painting and flooring. They're also updating the security cameras and the access controls. They're working in A-pod currently. B-pod is still filled until we're ready to move over to the other pod. That hopefully will transpire in another month or so. They really want to get done and finished with A-pod. We've got some work to do. We've had some delays with the rain because, as many of you may remember, that roof is to be replaced. It's old. It's 20-plus years old. It's a ballasted roof, meaning there's rock on it to hold down the EPDM rubber versus being glued. So every time you walk on it or carry something on it or roll something on it, you're virtually pushing holes into the rubber. So we're chasing leaks over there today so that they can hopefully, get back and get on schedule with the painting and the flooring that's going on. So that's kind of where we're at. Rolled into a change order. So
We are, yes.
Yep.
Go on, we're going to do a change order, looks like number 66 for ITB 2022-009 Satellite Jail Consolidation Project. It says 65 here. Is that the?
Question.
For the change order, though, just on the general update, so one of the things with both of these projects, because they're complicated projects with complicated financial mechanisms that undergird them, is as we get to the end of the year, we it's really important that like we navigate these correctly financially. And I just want to make sure facilities is aware of this, although it maybe is more an issue for the finance committee. But for both of these, so for the jail, we have a mix of ARPA money and PSST money that's backing a bond. And if we have to get that mix right, because as of December, whatever, we have to, or December 31st, the ARPA money has to be allocated as it's going to be spent, right? And so the conversation in finance has been that at some point, we're going to, I'm trying not to use a gun analogy, we're going to decide to, like, okay, we got to like cut off, and anything that's left from ARPA that was going to be used on this, we then have to transfer to other internal projects, because if we have too much ARPA on it and we don't spend it, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Then like that money's gone forever. And then, not to go back to the other one, the bond interest has performed better than we expected. And so these change orders that we just did might eat up, but like you have to spend it in the year. Like you can't carry, like if not, it's the same kind of thing. You got to give the money back. So if like the same thing, we like, it's just like, I forget, like we have to like clean it up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so that there's enough expenditures against the bond. And I know, Dana, you've been in conversation with, them about it. I don't know if there's any action that the board will have to take. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it would be at the December meeting, but there might be on both of these projects. There for sure would probably be at least a decision point on the ARPA money for this project. So like, whenever X dollar amount, we decide, okay, we're not confident that the, that we're gonna spend it, then like, we would have to make that decision in the December meeting. That would be the last time we could make it. Also, on like the camera stuff, like, it has to be delivered this year. Yeah, so like. Yeah, calendar year. So I just wanted to be aware of that like as these projects sort of reach their conclusion and we reach the end, there's like a really like very delicate dance of like the financial piece that we have to tie out, or we're going to leave money at on the table. We just talked about this for probably shorter than I just did, at our finance agenda meeting. And I know y'all are working behind the scenes, but I feel like facilities should know about it before it just shows up on a finance agenda, because there might be some like decision points that we have to make. I don't think it's a ton of money, but I don't want to give the feds any money. I don't want to leave any money from our bond interest on the table, right? Because the next few years are going to be rough enough as it is without leaving money on the table.
Good points. We have been meeting with Travis and Steve, and in fact, had a meeting earlier this week before your finance review. So the contractor for Braun Russo for the Plaza Bennett building is aware that all dollars have to be invoiced by December 10th. They're also aware that any items that need to be purchased for installation used on any of the changeovers, well, and most of the change orders, frankly, are completed. There's only a handful that have come through the last couple of meetings are in the process. So they understand that. We've reinforced that several times with them. So we are watching that. We know exactly, obviously, where their interest is at. $909,652 of generator entrance over the bond funds that have resided in the bank. So, yes, we want to spend all of that and not turn any of that back. We're taking a look at the ARPA funding. And in the last discussion with Steve and Michelle, we've allocated some ARPA funds for the Bennett Building. We're going to see if we need to use them, and if not, we'll turn them back so they can use them and reallocate. If we need to use them, they'll be there. But we'll make that decision prior to or very close to the 10th of December. And the rest of the finances are basically in the pay apps that Ron Russo delivers to us. Latest one just came through, would be pay app 20. They're getting down to not much except for some of the change orders that are left and taking a majority of the retention dollars. So I think we're in pretty good shape and recognize what you're saying. It's we need to take a look at the jail. We don't quite have the same deadline, according to Travis, on the jail issues. So, but we will be taking a look at that as well. So
The jail bond isn't as much money, and I guess B maybe didn't perform as well, like compared to our expectations, or like better than our expectations, the interest. I mean, the other thing though, is that there is not the same deadline with the jail, but if we anticipate not having to spend some of the money and we don't do anything about that by the end of December, then that just money's gone forever. Do you know what I'm saying? So I get some of this, and this with all of the projects is a bit of a, I don't want to say a guess because that's too vague, but like it's a dance. You know what I'm saying? The thought is that we just, of finance agenda is that we just plow that money into the digitization project that we don't have enough money for. If there was some low-hanging fruit, that's a facility thing, we could direct it there too. But it just has to be something, that wouldn't have to be, the ARPA money wouldn't have to be spent out by the end of this year. It just needs to be on a piece of paper that says this is how we're spending it, right? So I just wanted to make this committee aware of it because it's probably one of the things that's keeping me up the most at night. And I think it's like directly related to how we tie out these projects. I don't want to give any money, I don't want to give a nickel back.
Okay. So we were on the discussion and approval of change orders for ITB 2022-009. I was saying 65 is what's on the sheet and in your packet. 66 is what's on your desk. If you want to give us an overview of those, please. Thank you.
So 66 is a changeover basically to add inexpensive parking. Carrie and staff need additional parking. We built a very small lot that holds 6 spaces. That was basically for the medical folks that will be in the building. So by shaving a little space that the sheriff has agreed to off of his impound lot, reworking the fencing, we can put in 10 additional parking spaces for $22,000. That is pretty doggone inexpensive. And we don't have to fight the city on water retention because this concrete's already poured. So we don't have to get our civil engineer to take a look at drainage to see if our current retention basins are adequate to hold additional water runoff from 10 parking spaces. So it's.
Stephanie? Because Urbana's just been such a bastion of reasonableness throughout every step of this project, right?
Yeah, they've been great to work with.
How are those bike racks coming along?
They're complete
Thank you.
and approved by the city.
Thank you. I was wondering about that. Any other questions on 66? All right, if we could take a look back at 65. That's on page, I think 10 of my packet. Yes, 10. And that's the install owner-provided UPS and bypass panel. Did you have any info on that one, Dana? Sorry.
Yeah, this is the battery backup system for all of the computers, access controls, video, et cetera, for the building. What does it do? It allows basically about 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds of carry if there's a power outage. And the power outage hits, our transformer switch pops, and the generator starts. Really should only take about 4 or 5 seconds to get the generator going, maybe full 10 seconds to get up to speed. It carries all those electric components until the generator's at full speed. So it's an important piece, and this is what needs to happen.
Any questions on 65? Can I get a motion to approve change orders 65 and 66? Vantage there or not? Second by Wilson. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, now we have an update on the courthouse boiler retube and burner replacement project, ITB 2024-003 from Chris.
Yes, the last few pages of your packet show those burner tubes being installed. And they've actually completed the burner tubes on the second boiler, and the boil-out procedure is done on the second boiler, and it is currently in standby. And we will see Comtech in on the 12th of November to start burner replacements. So we're all caught up and ready to go. The last page of that packet is a picture of the actual burner that's being replaced.
All right, any questions on this one? Mr. Wilson?
Hey, Chris, thank you. This picture here, upper left. What is that? Is there a big gap between?
Top left?
Yeah,
Where they've
Where the
kind of
tube
cleaned
is?
up around it.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
that's just goop around it, or is there really a gap?
There's really a gap there, and they fill that in, and then they roll those tubes, so
Okay.
it seals them. Yeah. So they literally had to cut out. If you imagine looking at that, like this, and behind you, there's a wall.
Oh,
So they literally had to cut out the wall to get the tubes out this way to slide them back in, because the other side's going outside, and we can't go that way. So they had to cut holes in the wall behind them to get them a long enough distance to get the tubes back in. That's not why they had that bored out. There's some bad spots on it. They have to clean it up, and they seal that back up, and then they roll the tubes to seal, so we don't have water and fire mixing in there.
uh-huh, okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on those? All right, thank you, Chris. Did everybody have a chance to review the semi-annual closed session minutes? I think those are down here if you want to pass them back my way. I move that all closed session minutes remain closed per the recommendation from the state's attorney's office. Mr. Smith will second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Chair Lokshin?
Yes.
While you're on other business, could I speak briefly?
Of course.
Just a comment about further communications that I have had with the bastion of reasonableness that we've been dealing with our jail project. We have 2 exterior doors, egress doors, and the city of Urbana has decided that per their code, it needs to have a sidewalk connecting to another paved surface. I don't know that that really conforms with the code as I've read, other than what their particular interpretation of it is. The downside is the cost for the sidewalk will be approximately $30,000. These are doors that are used primarily for mechanical chase access for our staff. There are similar doors in the old jail that do not have sidewalks. And when I talked with Carrie Voges, who's been there for quite some time, she said in the old portion of the jail, they never use those doors because they don't usually have extra egress doors in jails. The city nonetheless is holding up our occupancy permit until we complete said work. I am reluctant to spend $30,000 on sidewalks that will not be used, and Ms. Voges has told me that she's concerned that sidewalks, while they are a way for people to leave, it's also something that attracts people to go towards. And she's concerned about the security aspects of perhaps encouraging people to approach the jail from the outside. I'm still trying to work with the city on this, but I was reluctant at this point to bring a change order to you for the additional sidewalks. I just wanted to update you to let you understand kind of where we're at in terms of our occupancy permit. I'll also be touching base with our state's attorney's office to maybe have a discussion with Urbana's legal to see if we can get any relief from that direction. Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Is that something that if we are not able to come to a conclusion on before, say, December 10th, we could designate as an ARPA funding project, or knowing what the cost would be? Like, since we know it potentially could be coming, I don't know when resolution might be expected, if we would have that in time to get it down on paper.
I suppose it could. I would still be very reluctant to spend $30,000 of
I agree.
ARPA
I agree,
funding on
for
the
sure.
sidewalk. In terms of timeline, since we are at a November date, we are rapidly approaching the point in time where we will be pouring no concrete until spring. So I will continue to work on this and update you.
Right, I think with the jail, though, that's when it doesn't have to be started, it just has to be
No, technically,
planned.
you could allocate
Right.
it and then spend it later, but I am very reluctant to spend $30,000
Oh,
a third time
agree.
on a sidewalk that is not going to be used.
I agree. I was just trying to hopefully find a way to maybe alleviate some of that money that is coming from where at this point, so. Okay. Oh, do you have other business as well, Jeff?
Should we delay retirement until that's resolved?
I think the board should take that up for further consideration.
I'll second that.
Well, okay, speaking of other business, Dana, thank you. We have a little card from the Facilities Committee, and then again, I will state there are muffins over there. Please take muffins so Dana doesn't have to bring them all home. Our next meeting is not until January 7th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. The items to be placed on the consent agenda are items 6B and 6E. And with that, we are adjourned at 7:14. Thank you all.